When this was screened for a test audience, a group of boys told Cartoon Network that this show was so bad the creators should be fired. And yet somehow, this made it to your screen, and the reason why is that when Powerpuff Girls was made, it was only made because the network had a very unique, very rare idea for how to operate, one that to this day is almost never replicated, and it's probably why so many shows fail. But even more important than that, Powerpuff Girls was incredible, and that's likely because of a very strange mix of ingredients. These are the Whoop-Ass Girls, and this is Whoop-Ass Stew. You heard all of that right. This was the first short starring these characters from creator Craig McCracken, who also made this, and this. And animation was always what McCracken wanted to do. While working on Dexter's Lab, McCracken would pitch this show repeatedly, to no avail. It was passed on over and over again, even by Cartoon Network, but his work on Dexter's Lab as a storyboard artist gave him one more shot. He'd pitch Cartoon Network exec Mike Lazo, and the show would finally be greenlit. And Mike Lazo is a name you might already be familiar with. Remember that bad screening, the one where the audience insisted the creator should be fired? Well, that was also due to the test audience being upset with the idea of superheroes being girls. That screening also convinced McCracken that he should change the girls. There was even talk of renaming them to Pink, Blue, and Green. Yes, really, and making them more realistic. But Mike Lazo, that same exec, made sure McCracken stayed firm in his vision, and he did. The show would premiere in 1998, exactly as you remember. He and Cartoon Network gave McCracken full control over every single aspect of the show. At this time, Cartoon Network's culture was completely artist-driven. It took risks on people and let them display their talent, a risky and very unique situation for a network. And that's how we got one of the most insane concoctions of ideas the network would ever see. This is the work of Roy Lichtenstein. You've almost definitely seen it before, even if you didn't recognize it. He's one of the biggest names from the pop art movement. It is an art style inspired by comic books, heavily produced imagery, and often a bit of simplicity. Now take that and mash it together with atomic age retrofuturism. This is the work of Sid Mead, to some the king of retrofuturism, and then somehow sprinkle some mid-century design and you get this.
Tonight is the night in which
your reign of goodness will end, and my reign of
begins to take hold.
Powerpuff Girls' art style and animation has aged exceptionally well because Townsville is built like a design space in the original show. Here, reality doesn't matter, the style does. Everything in Powerpuff Girls is color blocked and geometric. Even the girls with their huge heads and eyes, based once again, by the way, on classic art, specifically Margaret Keane's 60s paintings, are all designed to elicit emotion because McCracken wanted the girls to symbolize being a kid, not realistically looking like one. Again, taking from traditional art spaces, and I'm gonna come back to that idea in a minute. This, by the way, gives the girls that instant emotional readability. But then he fused that with...
oh no!
Once things start moving on screen, you get a show that is deeply rooted in what's called limited animation, which was basically the foundation of Hanna-Barbera's entire studio. Where full animation is movement-driven, limited animation is more idea-driven, which is more efficient, so fewer frames, repeat or reused animations, simple looping backgrounds. Powerpuff Girls uses limited animation to drive home that visual abstraction it's created in its backgrounds, its architecture, and character design. It drives home that feeling of moving pop art, or of design. It's like McCracken turned the Jetsons into a moving mid-century painting. Once you see it for the first time, it becomes instantly recognizable to your brain as Powerpuff Girls. But remember that mixture of ingredients? It's about to get one that you didn't see at the time almost ever. In the early 90s, anime was not the force in the West it is now. Rarely were American shows inspired by anime. Powerpuff Girls was heavily influenced by it. McCracken has stated many times that Dragon Ball Z and Sailor Moon were big inspirations for the show, and you see that immediately upon watching it. The huge levels of destruction, the dramatic close-ups, and even things like impact frames, which are a frame or a few frames that are distorted or overexposed at the moment of impact in animation. But what really mattered was how the girls were inspired by the works. Blossom, Buttercup, and Bubbles are much closer to shonen protagonists than anything else. They are ridiculously overpowered. a frequent staple of that genre, and the cute, simple design philosophy of the show, shoved up against the anime-style violence, gives Powerpuff Girls this unique dissonance that makes it almost addicting to watch, at least to me it was. And all of this allowed the Powerpuff Girls to make its last ingredient work perfectly.
Bat burgers? Trouble stealing your appetite.
Arrested with our new Bat Burger.
At its core, under all of this, is a very specific kind of superhero parody. Silver Age comics. The Silver Age of comics was defined by over-exaggeration, sometimes narration, but mostly a little bit of hokiness. It was a different time for comics than what you'd read today. Powerpuff was a finger pointed right at it. It opens with a classic play on superhero origin tropes, and then plays like Silver Age Batman or Superman, but everything is pushed to absurdity. The narrator is overdramatic and sometimes even a victim. The stakes are literally always Townsville is doomed. And it amplifies the absurdity by designing episodes around the idea of kids dealing with kids' problems through a superhero lens. Remember the episode Moral Decay? It takes the experience of losing your first teeth and turns it into a corruption arc when Buttercup realizes she can punch people's teeth out for cash. Or Octa-Evil, in which Mojo Jojo weaponizes Bubbles' imaginary friend, her stuffed toy octopus, against her. The show created that parody through almost universal relatability, which, by the way, is really difficult to write, let alone pull off for seasons of a show. And then the villains.
What? I created the Powerpuff Girls?
Mojo Jojo is a monologue king, very Silver Age, and his redundant way of speaking is actually directly inspired by DC Comics' Super Dictionary that McCracken read as a kid in the 70s. And his version of dooming the world is doing stuff like this, turning everyone into obedient dogs. And like comics, it would use its villains to genre parody. Him was horror and surrealism, like Fuzzy Lumpkins was to rule chaos. That's a very comic approach. And remember that initial complaint that Buttercup, Bubbles, and Blossom shouldn't be superheroes because they're girls? They'd play with that trope too, going right back to easily the scariest villain of the show, him, voiced by Tom Kane. He's built with a mix of drag performance, theatrical villainy, and again, horror. He wears high heels but speaks in an evil male register, and then suddenly out of nowhere is a soft, inviting voice, constantly swapping and bending around any recognizable version of human. It's uncanny, it's also brilliant in a play on maudeville absurdity of early comic villains. The key though wasn't making fun of superheroes, or even really the Silver Age, not at all. It was really just amplifying their logic until it all becomes comedy. That is what makes the show work, even if you don't have any exposure to what it's parodying at its core.
Thanks to you, Townsville's as safe can be.
I talk a lot on the show about contrast, but very few TV shows did it as well as the original Powerpuff Girls series. It worked because it was classic art and anime. It was cute and violent. It was simple and stylized. It was minimal and explosive. It had smart kids dealing with dumb, incompetent adults like the mayor. It was contrast as its identity in a really consistent way. This collision, pop art, Silver Age comics, mid-century design, anime, it was just that, a collision. Most shows would drown in all of that influence, but instead, it understands its inspirations so well, so acutely, that it knows exactly how to use them. Now, the reboot is an entirely different story for another day, but the original series blossomed in a pure love, a clear joy for the animation industry and for art. It was a creator given full reign to his vision, completely uncompromised. That cartoon era of Cartoon Network that was so creator driven that built people like McCracken and Genndy Tartakovsky up was experimentation in animation at its finest. It was the opposite of corporatizing the space. If you're wondering why it feels like there's so few shows like it now, well, that's probably because there's so few creators given a platform for their vision the way McCracken was back then. Powerpuff Girls is seemingly timeless because it is a labor of nearly untouched love. Oh, and sugar and spice.
And everything nice. These were the ingredients chosen to create the...
That is it for today's episode. If you enjoyed this one, press that like button down below. And I am curious, what's your favorite show of all time? can be any show. And as always, hit subscribe if you haven't yet done so you don't miss anything coming to the channel. And that little notification bell down there, that actually helps a lot. It just makes sure you're actually notified when something comes to the page. And as always, this has been